UFC 325 is tomorrow, and we have Volk taking on Diego Lopes in a rematch. The card does kind of suck, but we're doing it anyways, you know? You guys know the deal at this point. I'm giving you my full card prediction and breakdowns for every single fight on the card. Let's get straight into it. First up, we have Sulang Rangbo versus Lawrence Louis. I'm just going to call him Lawrence. The thing that I picked up on from Lawrence immediately in the film that I've watched is his striking defense is a little suspect. I immediately could tell from the first 10 seconds of the first fight that I watched that he was a city kickboxing guy, because you can tell that he tries to emulate that Izzy style of pawing the jab out, trying to draw out shots, maybe a few hip feints in there. So he reminded me of Izzy a little bit, and I was immediately like, oh, okay, let's see if he can work off of those feints, maybe find some sort of offbeat combination. And it never really came, and when shots came back his way, there was no real counter, and there was no real strategy of trying to defend. Like, he didn't try and stick up a high guard. He didn't try and stick his lead hand out and create space or jab to control space. He kind of just like took shots on the chin and didn't really like circle off or anything. That was the main thing that stuck out to me. And with Sulang Rangbo, that his whole style is kind of being the type to be able to stick and move, use quick footwork, snipe you at range for a long period of time. And I just think Lawrence Liu is too hittable, man. In what I've seen from the film, it's just not very impressive to me. And even in the KO that he had on road to UFC, it was kind of just this instance where against the guy he was fighting, he cut the cage off, and then the guy didn't know what to do, so he just like squared up to him and just took a right hand on the chin and went down. I'm pretty sure Liu got dropped before that. He just seems kind of sloppy to me. He tries to seem more technical than he is. This fight should stay standing, so I'm gonna take Sulang Rangbo. I have him by decision or late TKO, possibly. He could be live for a late TKO. I just don't think Lawrence Liu is very defensively responsible on the feet. And another thing that Lawrence Liu does really poorly is he'll fully extend his arms at times to parry a shot. Like both arms fully extended to try and deflect a shot. All it takes is one really good feint and both arms are out there and he's fully exposed. I mean, I just see so many holes, man, and I haven't seen a lot of people say this, but apparently I'm in my own world with thinking this of Lawrence Liu, so I'm going to take Sulang Rangbo. I think he gets it done by late TKO or decision, most likely. Up next, we have Sebastian Saleh versus Kichiro Nakamura. I am going to take Kichiro Nakamura in this one. Same kind of style here with Nakamura and Sulang Rangbo. Snipers on the back foot, quick footwork, very, very quick, effective feet, so to say. Sebastian Saleh, the one thing that worries me that I immediately noticed. So for one, he's a very boxing heavy guy, and he's not the fastest guy, and he's not the longest guy either. He needs to get on the inside in order to actually clip you or land anything of any substance, which usually when that is the case, they have some sort of a power advantage, and it's detrimental to the other guy when they do get into the pocket because of that power advantage. But Saleh doesn't really have that, and he doesn't really mix up his weapons too well either, and he doesn't have enough weapons, I don't think. Like, he'll throw in a few low kicks here and there. His wrestling base is meh. It's not anything to jump at. I just think that he has a lack of weapons, and he's inexperienced too. So's Nakamura, but from what I can tell, Saleh just seems to have too many holes in his game, and he doesn't have enough developed. So I'm going to take Kichiro Nakamura. I'm going to take him by decision. I think that these first two fights are going to be a case of just sticking and moving for 3 rounds. But who knows? Maybe we do get TKOs. Up next, we have Dom Marfan versus Sung-Uk Kim. I'm going to take, actually, Sung-Uk Kim here. I believe he is an underdog. Not by much, but I do believe he is an underdog. Dom Marfan, the downfall that I have for him is his most recent fight. He got taken down a lot. Wasn't against a guy. I forget what the dude's name is. I'm going to look right here. Jae-hyun Park. And Jae-hyun Park is not, if you guys do watch Road to UFC, he's not like some brute on the ground that you just have to really worry about. Like, he's okay. Like, he has decent entries. He doesn't have like a wide variety of takedowns that he can go to, but he's not like, it's not like prime DC running at you, you know? And off the top of my head, I don't have the stats pulled up, but I remember him getting taken down multiple times. And Sung-Uk Kim is kind of the style where he's brain dead. He has no striking defense. He kind of just walks forward and hooks at you type of a deal. But he's trying to overwhelm you immediately. That's the style that he has. Kim has the style of takedowns where he's gonna try and just pick you up and just maul you. There's no real, he tries to go for body locks for the most part. There's not really like any real technique behind the shots that he's shooting. It's more so just pure athleticism, pure force. And Fawn got taken down pretty handedly in his last fight, and it worries me that he's just going to be getting ragdolled and the pressure's going to get to him. So I'm going to take Kim here. I'm going to take him by TKO or submission in the later rounds. I just think that the whole stylistically and the history of Fawn getting taken down at will, it worries me. So I trust the style of Kim in this one. Not a ton because he is kind of brain dead on the feet, but yeah, we'll see. Up next we have Konoff Lee versus Yeesh Ha. Konoff Lee to me is the, how do I say this? He's the Celtics Shaq of Alexander Volkanovski's, if that makes sense at all. Like, he doesn't have very many weapons. He's pretty passive at times. And another thing is I've seen him cheat actually at a pretty high rate. I've seen him grab the fence. I've seen him grab the gloves. I'm not sure about eye pokes off the top of my head, but he isn't like the most noble guy ever. He's literally just Volk without any weapons from what I can tell. And Yeesh is a grapple heavy kind of guy. He uses his striking to set up his grappling, but the striking isn't necessarily the best diversion ever. He kind of just dives on these blast double legs or single legs, and there's not much of a serious feint setup or anything like that. He kind of just dives on it, and when he does dive on it and he gets it, he rolls into these submissions really, really quick. When you go to like a jiu-jitsu class, they teach you position before submission, and they want you to actually like hold control and slowly work your way toward that submission. When Yeesh learned that, it was in one ear out the other. There was no, like, he immediately jumps on submissions right away when he gets there. So I can see that being a problem for Konoff Lee, and I'm gonna take him by submission in the first or second round. I'm just not too high on Konoff Lee at this point after all of the film that I've watched. From a stylistic standpoint, it could be that Yeesh just jumps on all these submissions, doesn't get them, like, and then gets reversed onto his back, and Konoff Lee ground and pounds him out. That's definitely a possibility just because of the nature of Yeesh rolling for arm bars a ton, trying to get triangles, things like that. He just jumps it too quick, and it could be his downfall in this one, but I just don't see that because I don't hold Konoff Lee to a very high standard, to be honest with you. I'll take the more athletic, the younger, the better wrestler, better grappler in Yeesh. Up next, we have Jonathan Mikulev versus Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott, I've been high on for a while, but I am going to take Jonathan Mikulev in this one. Oban Elliott is a rangier striker, is kind of his style, is to pick you apart at range, nice low kicks, has a decent kicking game, and he uses his reach a lot of times in his speed combined with that to kind of outpoint guys and point fight guys to a decision. But you see on the screen, Jonathan Mikulev has a huge range advantage. That combined with the fact that Jonathan Mikulev has pretty decent takedown entries, and he's good on the ground with longer limbs. Even when you do get on top of him, there's a possibility of him getting you into a triangle or getting an armbar or something of that nature. And Oban Elliott in his last fight against, I think it was Siakhan Ko, if I remember that correctly. It was Siakhan Ko. He was getting mauled on the ground. He had no answers for anything that Siakhan Ko had for him. Like, I understand that he's not the biggest like submission threat, but he is a pretty good top control kind of a fighter. And that worries me that Jonathan Mikulev is going to be able to get in on his hips and blast a double leg and hold him down and get to the back and submit him. Especially when Oban Elliott, he doesn't really have a speed advantage in this. He definitely doesn't have a length advantage. And he doesn't have the power that I want to see if that is the case where, oh, he could just put him away though. Because that's not the case. He doesn't really have that one-shot type of power where he can step back and bang a backhand and they're just out cold like Dominic Reyes does or like a Prime McGregor did. Like, that's not, this just doesn't have that type of power. I'm taking Jonathan Mikulev. I think he gets this done by submission. What round do I have it? I'm gonna say in the second or third round. Up next, we have Torres Finney versus Jacob Malkoun. I'm taking Torres Finney reluctantly. Do not bet on this fight, by the way. If I can tell you to not bet on one of these fights on this entire card, it's this one. Both guys aren't good strikers. Both guys are more known for the wrestling. Torres Finney kind of just has a double leg from what I can tell. I mean, that's all we saw in his debut, was holding on to the weakest double leg you've ever seen for 15 straight minutes. Obviously, you got the one against Valentin where he picked him up and slammed him, but then after that, it was sticking his head between Valentin's legs for 15 straight minutes. And there was no chain wrestling. There was no trying to get to the high crotch. There was no turn in the corner on a single leg. There was none of that. Jacob Malkoun, his wrestling is good, but I don't think it's at the level that Torres Finney's is. And I think that he's kind of gonna get out physical. There is a world where they kind of have to stand up at points because neither of them can get each other down. But in the history of Torres Finney being able to kind of just take down his opponents early in the fight, I think that he is going to be able to get Malkoun down in the first round. And then from there, I think he maybe gets one of the second, but I think he gasses a little bit. And from there, it goes to like a 29-28 type of deal where one judge maybe values defending the takedowns more, one values the control time against the fence type of a deal. And I think it's really boring. Yeah, I don't value any of what these guys bring to the table, to be honest with you. Both of their striking sucks, so it's literally a toss-up if they do stay on the feet for a long period of time. From what I've seen, Torres Finney seems to have a little bit of a better wrestling background, so I'm gonna trust it there. And he's just more athletic. If the case is where both guys kind of have the same style and there's not really a clear-cut winner for that style, you go with the more athletic guy. So I'll take Torres Finney. Next up on the card, we have Cam Rouston versus Cody Brundage. I'm going to take Cam Rouston here. I'm not going to take long on this fight either. Cody Brundage has a wrestling-heavy background, and at that, it's not like the most impressive thing ever because a lot of his offensive wrestling, at least, is just shooting double legs. The funny thing is that Cam Rouston, on the opposite side of things, you would think that he is a striker based off of his fight on the Contender Series and his debut, but he actually has a grappling background, and his grappling is actually pretty good. So now that he's kind of developing his striking and he's able to use his length and still have like crazy power at the same time, it is really impressive. And I just think Cody Brundage sucks, dude. I fucking hate Cody Brundage. I can't take Cody Brundage to win a fight nowadays, man. There's a possibility that he's able to get on the inside and bomb some sort of an overhand or something, but I don't trust him getting backed up. I don't think that he's good when he gets his back toward the fence, especially with the length that Rouston has. He's going to be able to basically ping him the whole time and not be able to get touched. The only worry is the ability to see the overhands that are coming back his way from Brundage, because at times these taller guys tend to leave their head up in the air and can get clipped, but I don't think that happens. I trust in Cam Rouston to be able to get this done. I think he gets it done by TKO early, actually. Yeah, again, Brundage up against the fence is helpless. I can see a knee waiting for him. I think that if he does get backed into a corner against the fence, I think that he could end up trying to shoot a double leg and he runs into a knee or he runs into an uppercut, or he just fails. Rouston sprawls, they get back to the feet, and Rouston puts it on him. I'm going to take Cam Rouston. I think he gets this done by TKO in the early rounds. Up next, we have Junior Tafa taking on Billy Elikana. People who know this channel know that I fucking hate the Tafa brothers, and I have promised myself and the viewers of this channel that I will never take a Tafa to win a fight ever again. So I'm taking Billy Elikana. Junior Tafa's only way that he wins fights, the only way that either of the Tafa brothers win fights, is by swinging hooks in close. They're helpless otherwise. They're literally helpless. They're helpless on the ground, helpless at range because they don't really have the speed to get in close and maybe find some sort of a combination. I mean, they suck, dude. They're not good. Billy Elikana isn't necessarily the best. He's not the most proven either, but he does have a decent kicking game at range. I think that he can take out Tafa's leg early, and I do think that he can get to a body lock and maybe slip under an overhand and find a double leg. Just find a way to get Tafa down, and I think that he does get a submission because the Tafas they're so helpless on the ground, dude. They're so helpless. Obviously, Walter Walker got Junior Tafa with a heel hook, and he's gotten everybody with a heel hook, to be fair. But like, I don't know, man. Like, you have to know that that's what Walter Walker's looking for, and he's still getting it on. Like, you know that's what he wants. And he's still getting it with ease. That's a problem, dude. I can see Billy Elikana getting Junior Tafa down. He got Guskov down, and he almost submitted him in the first round. I think that says a lot, especially on short notice. Originally, Billy Elikana was an 85er. That was up a weight class. Now he's at 205, obviously. That says a lot to me, so I think that Billy Elikana is going to get a submission here. I think it happens inside of the first 2 rounds. Up next, we have Quillen Salkild taking on Jamie Mullarkey. I'm not going to take long on this one. I'm taking Quillen Salkild. I'm going to take him by TKO in the first round. I'm not the highest on him. I don't think that he's necessarily the best when it comes to his gas tank, when it comes to his striking defense. I think that his hands drop a lot from what I've noticed. I mean, you saw it in the last fight. Before he knocked out Nasrat Haqparast, he was kind of getting lit up, and he did make a very good read of finding the head kick, but he was kind of getting fucking pieced up. And Haqparast is decent. I do actually think Haqparast is solid, but he's not. Haqparast isn't some like freak that you're gonna see inside of the top 10 at some point. He's very average, honestly. And prior to the head kick, Quillen didn't look that good, but Jamie Mullarkey gets sparked by everybody. I mean, you can't name a Jamie Mullarkey fight where he looked like he was in at least a little bit of trouble at some point. In most of the fights, it seems, that are of recent, it's every fight that he's getting severely fucked up, not just a little bit. So I think Quillen Salkild gets this done early. I think that Jamie Mullarkey has the chin of a 105-year-old man. I don't trust it. And Quillen Salkild has done nothing but put people away. Possibility of a submission as well, because Quillen Salkild's background is actually in wrestling, not striking, hence the poor striking defense, but it is what it is. They're giving him a layup because Rongju pulled out, but here we are. I guess the Salkild hype train moves on for another 6 months or so. Up next, Tai Tuivasa taking on Taliesin Teixeira. I'm taking Taliesin Teixeira in this one. I think that he gets it done by TKO in the first round. Ty's on a huge losing streak, reminiscent of a Tony Ferguson at this point. He's kind of just getting put away by everybody. For one, I think it's the damage. He's taken way too much damage. His chin isn't holding up, and he hasn't changed his style either. And I've said that in the past as well, that he kind of just accepts the fact that he's a brawler, and he gets into the pocket and swings, and he gets fucking lit up. And it's like, dude, your chin's not the same. You're going to have to change something, and he hasn't. Teixeira isn't the best in the pocket. He's good in the clinch, I've noticed. Obviously, the one huge highlight that he has is that elbow from the clinch. And he's not the best when it comes to like having the pick you apart at range style, which is kind of weird because he's so big. But I don't trust Tai in the clinch, dude. I think that's going to be the downfall for him in this one, is that clinch work from Taliesin Teixeira. And I said that actually when Taliesin fought Derek Lewis, which didn't end up happening, obviously. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to take long on this one either. I just, you can't look at Tai Tuivasa's recent resume and expect him to win a fight at any time soon. You just can't. Even with all the time that he's taken off, like he got up to like 300 and something pounds, like he was huge. I mean, he hasn't had like this recent history of training in his time off. Is he as dedicated as he used to be? I don't think so. Don't trust Taliesin Teixeira a lot, but I trust him more than Tai. So, moving on from that. Rafael Fiziev taking on Mauricio Huffy in this next one, and I'm going to ride with my guy Huffy. I don't love it because I think there is obviously a clear blueprint in how to beat Huffy, and that's simply by just moving him backwards and mixing up weapons. But with the style that Fiziev has in that Muay Thai background, in Muay Thai there's a lot of dull moments. Fiziev will stand there and he will be ripe for the pickings for getting hit. For two, he's not really a counter strike. Everything has kind of a predetermined combination to it. And if that is the case and you're fighting Huffy, I think that you need to non-stop throw like Benoit Saint-Denis did. He mixed up the punches with the takedowns, with the high kick. Like he combined it all into forward pressure. Where Fiziev doesn't really do that. He throws these combinations and then he sets back and he gets back into that Muay Thai kind of bounce. I think that if you give Mauricio any sort of space, I think that he is going to be able to clip you, and that worries me with Fiziev. I think that if he doesn't try and walk Huffy down and non-stop throw combinations and non-stop maybe even try and shoot takedowns like Benoit did, I just don't think it's going to go well for him. I don't think you can give Huffy any space whatsoever. I think if you give him a sliver of space, he's going to make a read. He's going to be able to clip you. And I think that's the case here. So I'm going to take Mauricio Huffy by second round TKO. Yeah. I don't trust it, especially with the combinations that Fiziev throws. If everything that he throws is predetermined, like I'm going to throw a 1-2-3 into a body kick, things like that, you're drilling a ton for one on pads in sparring. That's something that Hoofy picks up on so well, and that's why he's so good at rolling with shots. So the shots that Fiziev throws, I think that it's just going to, unless you have some sort of big counter-striking ability, I don't think that it's going to be easy to put hands on Hoofy because of the way that he rolls, the way he's able to evade shots. I don't trust it for Fiziev here. If Fiziev walks him down for 3 straight rounds, that's his path to victory. That's how you beat him. Up next, we have Dan Hooker taking on Benoit Saint-Denis. Everyone that I watch loves Benoit. I'm not a big fan, dude. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna take Benoit to win just because I can't trust Dan Hooker nowadays. I think this is a toss-up, dude. I don't think Benoit is as good as people think, dude. I think that his style is too predictable. For a guy that can deal with forward pressure, his style is too predictable. Like if he runs into a guy like Charles or he runs into a guy like Arman, you can make a read pretty easily, dude. And all you have to do for the takedowns, by the way, is address it with a threat like Poirier did, like the guillotine, which Dan Hooker does, by the way, a lot. Threatens guillotines in order to stop the takedowns a lot of times. You saw that against Arman recently. So the takedowns worry me a little bit. I think the high kick is a good tool, but he doesn't mix it up with any sort of body kick a lot. He doesn't mix it up with low kicks. It's high kick, high kick, high kick, high kick, high kick. It's just over and over and over and over. It's just predictable to me, dude. And I think that if he does get too predictable and the guillotine threat is there for Hooker, I think that he's going to be able to circle off, and when it comes to having wars, Dan Hooker wins wars, dude. He did it against Mateusz Gamrot, but I don't trust the ground game. I think that if Benoit does get him down, I think he will get a submission. I don't trust Dan Hooker on the ground. Paddy Pimblett had some choice words about Dan Hooker's grappling game, and though they were harsh in the sense that he brought up Dan Hooker's mom, it's kind of true. Dan Hooker isn't very good on the fucking ground. He's kind of helpless, dude. So if Benoit does get him down, which I do think that he will, I think that there will be a guillotine threat, but I do think that once he gets out of that guillotine, I think he submits or ground and pounds Dan Hooker in round 1. Moving on from that. Main event time, we have Alexander Volkanovski taking on Diego Lopes. I'm biased. I'm taking Volk. Volk is one of my favorite fighters of all time. And I'm going to tell you why I think that he's actually going to get this done. It is just a technical thing. Diego Lopes is too predictable, and there's no more. It's kind of like Fiziev, where everything has a predetermined outcome in the things that he throws. So for example, when he fought Ortega, he slips off to the left. He throws an overhand into a left hook, or kind of like this shovel uppercut, and then after that, it's hook, hook, hook. Volk knows that. Volk also knows that when Diego Lopes is moving forward and he's trying to get Volk to move in that straight line, like Volk does, where he'll jab and then he'll pull away and his head goes straight up. Volk knows that Diego Lopes wants to land that jab, jab overhand. He wants to land that feint, feint overhand because Volk is moving back in a straight line. People point to that being Volk's downfall, which yes, it is. And people point to that with the Ilia Topuria knockout. That's not the same. Sure, Volk was moving backwards, but he's not up against the fence yet. He's moving backwards. Then Ilia got him to a point where he's backed up all the way to the fence. Now I'm cutting you off and banging a right hand. Diego Lopes doesn't have that. He's not shifting his feet, squaring up, cutting you off, and banging a right hand. He's moving you in a straight line, but he still can't get to you because he's not cutting you off to where you're up against the cage. Now I'm cutting you off. He's not putting those two things together. If you do put those things together where Volk moves back in a straight line, he's up against the fence, he goes to circle, okay, now I'm cutting you off, now I can hit you. He doesn't do that. Volk is so much more technically sound, and you can tell, watch the fight back. He knows everything that Diego Lopes is going to throw. Everything that Lopes threw, it was like he knew what was coming, even in the pocket. He knew when there were uppercuts coming, he knew when there were hooks coming, he rolled with shots when they were in the pocket. It's all calculated. Diego Lopes is too predictable. He's powerful, he's athletic, and he's a marauder, and he's going to walk you down, but it's predictable for Volk. Volk is he's so much more technically sound. It's not close. I've slowed down the film. I've watched the combinations that Diego Lopes throws. It's all just like this predetermined, one-dimensional style of striking. The way that Diego Lopes wins this is by somehow catching him when they're in the pocket, when they're exchanging hooks like they did a few times in the first fight. Do I see that happening? No, because Volk is too defensively responsible in those situations. But I think that the way Diego Lopes knocks him out, only way that he's able to do this, by timing Volk throwing that jab, he's gonna have to eat it on the way in to time this, but by eating that jab and bombing an overhand. That's it. Or barely slipping off of it and bombing it over. That's the only way, is by getting him moving in a straight line and finding the perfect timing. I think that's the difference. I think Volk can coast for 5 rounds, whereas Diego Lopes needs that longest shot of longest shots. And he hasn't grown, even in the John Silva fight. John Silva lit him up on the feet. 100% of that stand-up in that fight was John Silva beating the brakes off of Diego Lopes. Because it's predictable. All John Silva had to do was be like, oh my God, this guy has 2 combinations. Just stay out of the way of it and punish the tendency. And he did. Obviously, you know, oh, well, he got knocked out after that, so what about that? It was a fluke. I'm sorry. That is one of the biggest flukes of last year, probably. Sick fight, by the way. And I don't want this to come off, by the way, as like some I hate Diego Lopes. I think Diego Lopes is awesome, but Volk's on another level, dude. So I'm taking Volkanovski. I think he gets it done by decision, and that's all I got for you. I appreciate you guys for watching. Like and subscribe per usual. I just dropped my UFC iceberg video. Go check that one out. It'll pop up on your screen right here. Like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.